What is going on, guys? Today I have a very special video for you. As you guys know, I've been very focused on PickFed content and my Instagram, but today I'm returning with my first action figure review in just over like 4 or 5 years now. The last time I reviewed figures was when AEW, their line was just starting to come up. Chris Jericho, the little bit of the bubbly ringside exclusive, and I believe it was Elite 78 Matt Riddle. And he's not even with WWE anymore. So that just goes to show you how long it's been since I've reviewed a figure on this channel. But today we have the 1 of 3,000 ShopAEW exclusive Kazuchika Okada. This was released just about a week and a half ago for All In Texas as a special release on their website. Unfortunately, as of now, it's not available. But if you guys are a little disappointed that you missed out, I know Ringside just put up, as of recording this today, the AEW Unrivaled 18 pre-order for Okada. And it's a pretty similar figure, but I will delve into some of the differences in this video. So let's go on ahead and get him out of the box, and I'll show you guys what he comes with, and we'll do some articulation preview. We're going to take a look at the hands they decided to include. First, we have that comes standard attached with the figure in the box. We have some open palm hands. These are good for doing his entrance pose that he does at the top of the ramp, as well as if you want to do any slap poses. I will say, I think that they made a good choice with including these hands, but as far as this next pair is concerned, I think I would have preferred a pair of closed fists as opposed to the open facing hands these open hands that we've seen a lot with their other releases. I just think that this mold is really like kind of in between. It's not really able to hold a microphone, but it also doesn't really look like a punch. So I'm always a little bit confused when they decide to use this over any of the other hand molds that they have. But overall, solid hand choices for this figure. Getting to the head sculpt, they did only include one, but the head that they did include for this Okada is absolutely spectacular. I think if we could get a side-by-side with the picture on the box, I mean, that is, like, dead-on accurate. They did an amazing job with this head sculpt. I would give them a 9 or a 10 on this. 10, I don't even think is far-fetched to say. I mean, they nailed it on the hair. It looks exactly like him. And for a first try especially, I think they knocked this one out of the park. Next, we have the AEW Continental Championship. Obviously, this figure is commemorating his win. And what I think if that you really like this title and you like the design, this is definitely a figure you should be going after. I know this, and I think the Orange Cassidy figure coming out, the Target exclusive. So if you want a little bit of a cheaper alternative, I would go with that. But I wouldn't expect to see a lot more of this title belt, as the new Unified Championship is probably what they're going to be going on with anytime in the near future. And lastly, for his accessories, we have his entrance jacket, and I will say the design and printing on this entrance jacket is very good. I like the money design, but as far as quality, I would say that this is not their best work on entrance jackets. In their last few releases and ringside exclusive, they've had this really high quality leather. For example, this is the Konosuke Takeshita jacket. They've had this really high quality pleather, and I know they included this as well with the Legacy of Sting pack, whereas this is kind of a more basic fabric, something that you would expect from Mattel. And not to crap on Mattel, I mean, they put out good jackets, but AEW has been on another level. And I will say, as far as material-wise, it is a bit of a disappointment, but it's still a solid jacket, and I'm by no means disappointed by it. So now we're going to take a look at the articulation of the figure and get you guys a closer look on what it looks like standing up outside of the box. So here is Okada standing straight up and down in the ring, not trying to do any crazy poses or display or anything, just taking a basic look at him. And first impressions of this figure is absolutely spectacular. I mean, the head sculpt, the body proportions, all of it looks pretty perfect. And for their first try, I think they knocked this figure out of the park. For a closer look on the gear, not really doing anything spectacular with this release. I know that he's worn this a lot on TV. He hasn't really gone all out with his gear so far, but a basic black and white and silver design. It's really classy. Obviously, not like super complicated paint apps. If that's going to bother you, I would suggest maybe going with the old Super 7 figure. They had a little bit more complex gear. But as for this figure, I think that it does a very good job of accurately representing the character. And I really like this attire, especially for his look in AEW so far. As for the articulation, it's going to be pretty much standard AEW Unrivaled articulation. Just taking a look at it, first glance, it appears that it's on the same body mold as the Konosuke Takeshita figures that they've made. So do with that what you will. If you weren't a big fan of the articulation on those figures, I would suggest maybe skip over this one. Like I said, there's the Super 7 out there. But if you are a fan of that Takeshita figure, I mean, this is going to be perfect for you. So we have the standard arms up, go right about to the shoulders and a little bit above. We're going to have double jointed elbows, slightly restricted on the left side of the figure with the elbow pad. But as far as elbow pads go, AEW makes pretty soft ones, so they don't hinder articulation that much. We're going to have full hand rotation and articulation on both sides. And taking a closer look at the torso, obviously AEW, we know, does the double jointed torso, so you're going to be able to get him back about that much and crunch forward about there. So overall, pretty solid articulation on the upper body. As for the lower body, I will say this is where the Takeshita body mold kind of is lacking a little bit in some ways. The figure is going to be able to kick up and do a split, not fully. That's one of the main downsides because the thighs are a lot larger on this body mold. It's hard for them to get up all the way as compared to a Kenny Omega figure or a Will Ospreay that they release. And kicking forward, this figure is going to leave a lot to be desired. There's ways to get around it, but for a lot of Okada's moves, like his drop kick, this could pose a problem. If you're a fedder or if you like taking Instagram pictures, this could definitely end up being a problem for you. Double jointed knees down below, a little bit hindered by the knee pads. Personally, I think AEW's knee pads that they use are a little bit too thick, and they're definitely a downside on some of their figures. But pretty standard AEW articulation, boot cut. I forgot to mention thigh rotation, but as you guys know, that's comes standard with all AEW figures. And we got ankle pivot and rocker. Alright, so overall, the articulation is pretty solid. If you're a fan of the Unrivaled line, I think the Unrivaled line has a lot better articulation than you could get out of most standard Mattel figures and Elites. But now we're going to take a look at some height comparisons and see how he stacks up next to some other similar figures from comparable lines. Alright guys, so here we have two comparable AEW action figures. On the right, we have the figure I mentioned previously, the ringside exclusive Konosuke Takeshita. And on the left, we have our newly crowned CHW champion at Rise from the Ashes. Won it from CM Punk, and probably the best match we've ever recorded for the Fed. If you haven't watched, I would suggest you do. Definitely a banger, definitely my best work so far. And Kenny Omega, one of Okada's biggest rivals. Who knows, maybe down the line we could see them two stand off against each other one more time in my pick Fed. But comparing them height-wise, as I said before, I do believe that this is the same body and leg mold. If you guys want to take a closer look, it is one-to-one exactly the same mold that they're reusing, which is pretty appropriate. They wear similar ring gear. That's also good for you guys. If you own both figures, I know I probably will end up doing this. If you get tired of the white gear of Okada, or if you get tired of the red gear and black on Takeshita, you could always swap them out. Their skin tones are pretty similar. I would almost say exactly similar. So I would definitely say if you want to swap them out attire-wise, go for it. Obviously, since they are on the same body mold, besides the head height, I would say that they're pretty much exactly the same size. And I would say that's pretty accurate to real life. I believe at the most, Takeshita's like slightly taller than him. But as for Kenny Omega, you could see Okada does tower over him a little bit, which is pretty much what you would expect from these figures. But overall, I would say this Okada scales very well with other AEW figures, which is what you would expect. But now we're going to do some size comparisons with maybe some bigger and some taller WWE action figures. So let's roll to our next clip. So here we have Okada compared against two WWE Mattel figures. This may look like a little bit of weird comparisons, but I just got these two figures in recently. They're my two most recent pickups, besides Okada, who just came in the mail yesterday, along with Booker T. We have an Ultimate Edition on the right and an Elite on the left. If you guys don't know, this is the newly released Drew McIntyre Ultimate Edition. Just came out a few weeks ago at major retail stores. And on the left, we have Booker T from the Monday Night Wars line, the Golga Build-A-Figure wave. Now that I have Booker T, the rest of the figures aren't that expensive. So if you guys would want me to build the Golga and give you guys a review on it, I would be more than happy to. Currently, I'm building my Attitude Era collection. So he would make a perfect addition. And if you guys want to see that, definitely let me know in the comments. Once again, Booker T is down. This seems like a common theme with this figure. Hopefully that doesn't happen when he's on my shelf. But nonetheless, Okada's listed at 6'3" online. Booker T also is. And that looks just about accurate. Maybe in the video it's slightly harder to tell. But I will say that they are just about the same height. Drew McIntyre, on the other hand, is listed at 6'5". And as you guys could see, Drew is slightly taller than him, I would say. Definitely, this Okada is, so far, just based on these two, I know it's a limited sample. Oh my lord. Oh, everybody's falling. Oh god. As I was saying before all hell decided to break loose in my arena, overall, height-wise, I would say this Okada scales perfectly, no matter which line it is that you collect. Obviously, with the AEW figures, he's going to scale pretty perfectly. I mean, they're creating that line in scale with the other figures, so you're not going to have any difficulties there. But I don't foresee the Mattel line being out of scale with this Okada. I mean, just based off of these two figures, obviously it's not a grand scale comparison, but I don't foresee that you'll have any issues. If you're mostly a Mattel collector, you should be fine having this in your collection. I don't see that you'll have any problems with this figure. I know we haven't seen a lot of Okadas. This is only our second figure. Obviously, the Super 7 was the other one that I mentioned. But this figure is pretty much perfectly in scale, and I don't foresee anybody having any issues with the height. If you guys need more height comparisons, I would definitely either look online. But if you want me to do more, I'll be happy to. I'm not that busy. So if you guys need it to get done, I'll gladly post you guys up some more height comparisons. So now we're going to get to my final thoughts on this figure and if I thought overall from this review whether or not you should buy it. Alright guys, so now comes the point of the review where it's time for me to decide for all the people at home, what everybody comes here looking to find out. Is this figure worth parting with your time to find it and your hard-earned money to purchase it? And for this part of the video, I will be speaking from the perspective of an average collector. Obviously, not everybody's a completionist. Not everybody's a huge collector that goes out of their way to get things like exclusives. And for the average collector's perspective, I am going to say this is not worth it for the average person. And I'm going to tell you guys why. By no means am I saying that this is a bad figure. Actually, for AEW, this being their first time they made an Okada figure, I think they absolutely knocked it out of the park. The head sculpt is wonderful. I like the choice that they made with the body mold, and I like the classy attire that they went with. But as far as the downsides for your average consumer, first of all, it's just way too much money to be spending on one figure, especially now with aftermarket prices. This figure came out to $60 at retail. For a standard AEW Unrivaled figure, that's pretty outrageous. I think people aren't even paying that on the aftermarket for certain figures that are Supremes, like the Kenny Omega or even the CM Punk, which are miles better than this figure. Again, no shade. Those are just very great figures that AEW's put out. but by no means do I think those are worth less or I would pay more for this figure. Also, one of the main draws for this figure is that it does come with the AEW Continental Championship, and overall, I would say if you're a huge collector and you're worried about getting access to this title, maybe this is a pull factor for you, but I do also know that there's going to be a Target exclusive Orange Cassidy, and I believe it also comes with this title. So if you're worried about getting access to this title before they stop making it, I don't think it'll be a problem for you. I think you'll be able to find that figure pretty easily, and I wouldn't be shocked if that Orange Cassidy ends up going to clearance. Lastly, as for the entrance jacket, I know the standard release is not going to come with an entrance jacket, so if that's a big factor to you, maybe another thing to consider. But as I said in my review, this entrance jacket is not something to write home about. The material isn't anything special. The design is classy, it's nice, it's simplistic, just like the attire, but it's not really anything special, and it's not going to be worth paying the extra $30 in retail or possibly the extra $100 in aftermarket prices than to get the regular base unrivaled figure. I will say, if this is the blueprint for Okada moving forward, I'm perfectly fine with that. I think they knocked this figure out of the park, especially for their first time attempting a new character. We've seen that go drastically wrong. We've seen terrible head sculpts. We've seen terrible skin tones from AEW. And I believe that I believe this is 6 years going on now, AEW is really hitting their stride. And I'm very excited to see what they can do with these figures moving forward. So guys, if you enjoyed that review, make sure to leave a like down below, comment, subscribe to the channel. We are just about to hit 70 subscribers. We're at 69 right now. So I would really appreciate it if you guys could go ahead and subscribe. And I definitely want this to be the start of more reviews. So if you guys wouldn't mind giving me some constructive feedback on what I could do to improve the viewing experience for you guys, definitely let me know down below. And I hope you guys have a great day, and if you guys decide to purchase this figure, definitely drop it down below in the comments. Have a great day.